Hello and welcome to Marketing Tech. This is our 12th episode, and today we're talking to Aaron Kronis. Thank you so much for coming. How you doing?
I'm really good. I'm really good. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm in Canada and it's becoming autumn, and I've spent the last 13, 12 years in LA where it just endless summers. So
Yeah,
it's different.
I went to high school in Los Angeles, and I do remember it was just so beautiful all the time. Except actually August and September. I lived in the Valley, so August and September were insanely hot.
No complaints
But
on the heat.
yeah, but I'm in Houston now, where it's hot all the time. So it's hot and humid. We don't really have winter here, so it's I think we're having a high of 89 today, which is
Is the surf
considered
up?
cool. Considered cool for us. I actually haven't. I surfed in junior high. But I haven't really kept up with it since then.
Not
But
much.
we
Not
do
much
have
break.
surfing here in Houston. We have Houston, and especially when the hurricanes come, people like to go out there and go surfing.
Yeah, that's one thing. I never grew up around the ocean, so I'm from Georgian Bay where there's lakes and it gets really cold, and I'm not an ocean person. I'm not a wave person. I've tried surfing. I can balance because I'm a snowboard instructor. I'm a skateboarder, but skateboarder. But yeah, I won't talk about that. But yeah, I've never been great at surfing. I've only tried it a few times, and I don't like any sport where you drown. Like you feel like you're drowning every time you finish a run. It's just not
Yeah,
me. But maybe
Houston
someday.
has Houston does have surfing. It's very seasonal. There's only a few times a year you can really do it good. I think the most we ever get is maybe there's a hurricane kind of really far off. You might get double head high or something, but you can get head high sometimes. It's a lot of fun, but you have to really kind of really pay attention. Be on a drop of a hat, go out and go surfing because it's not consistent. Because yeah, I was really big into it in junior high. That was a long time ago in the 80s. Um, but on the marketing tech, I always ask people. The first thing I usually try to ask them is the kind of computer they use for their daily work. So what kind of computer do you use for your daily driver?
Interesting question. I've been with MacBook Pros for quite a while, but they're not anything new. Like I've got a 2013 and it's always SSD with maxed out RAM and everything. And then I upgraded to a 2015, which is what I'm using right now. And the reason I have SSD and hard drives on them, and before they were well widespread, is because I do music. And if you have a very heavy bass frequency going on stage or where you are, the last thing you want is the hard drives to crash. So that's been my reasoning behind that. And I use Ableton Live and I use Apollo hardware for audio. There's a lot of gear that I'm into for certain applications for streaming entire studio sort of sessions live with music added to them, including guitars and vocals. And I can elaborate as we go.
Sure. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you more about that. But one of the things that I learned recently about SSDs is I didn't realize this but they have a hard end of life. Like unlike a spinning drive, they could last a much longer time or a much shorter time. That it's not consistent, but they actually come with a set of this is how long they're going to last. They can do this so many times. It literally has a hard set. So that I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know that. I just found that out just recently.
I love flash memory. Like the fact that you can have an Android phone with a little micro SD card in it that's now 1 terabyte
Yeah.
blows me away because I used to have to carry 2-inch tapes that are for recordings of audio from studios. And like you literally could do 3 songs on one tape and then you'd have to have another tape. And they're like this big and they're like this thick, 2 inches. It's insane. And like the you only get 24 tracks. So if you wanted to do 27 tracks, suddenly we have to use a Kai hard disk and attach it and slave it to it and sync it all up with the SMPTE time codes just to have it all in sync. And then now you're matching digital with tape because you're doing that. So that's been an interesting area of my life is digital storage media, guys, like going through it, like watching. My first hard drive had a 200 megabyte hard drive on it, like my first PC. I started off on Ataris. I have one over there somewhere. Can you see that Atari right
No.
there? Right there is
Yeah.
it's an Atari 400 and an old Nintendo next to it.
Yeah. I had an Atari 1200 when I was in junior high, and those were pretty cool. And I started off with the Pong. That's literally only the console had one game on it. It was Pong. And then I remember my dad came home with an Atari 2600. This is the 70s, a long time ago. And then we got a 1200. And then I remember my first laptop didn't even have a hard drive. It just had two floppies. It had one for the DOS and one for WordPerfect. And that was literally all it had. And then one after that, I had 10 megabyte hard drive. It was a big thing. Yeah.
So my nerdiness started out in like 5th grade. A friend of mine's sister ran up to my class and said, "We need Aaron down in grade 1." And they're like, "For what?" "Oh, the teacher wants him." I said, "Okay." So I went down there and they had like just boxes and boxes of Commodore 64s and 64Cs. And I had the whole thing at home set up with like hard drives and joysticks, and I was, all into it. So I knew how to do it all. And so I like set it up for the whole school that day. It was pretty cool. And I used that to learn piano a bit. There's a program on there. It was like a jukebox program that could play like songs like Jump, or like one of my favorites is Axel Foley from Beverly Hills Cop, the theme for that. And like it would show you the piano notes, and you could just learn it by looking at it. So if you had 2 computers, you could do it in stereo. So I used to have a lot of fun. That's like when I was just starting to figure out how to use computers for music.
Right. Yeah. I remember, I think I told you that I used to, like in the late 80s, early 90s, I was really into the Mix magazine. I don't even know if it's still around.
Mix Mag.
But I remember just, had the big giant MIX in the top of it. But I remember just looking at that, and you were talking about tapes. I remember those 24 track tapes or whatever, they were like this thick or whatever, those big old reels. And
I just clicked on Mix Mag, but that's not the same. Mix Magazine, MIX, absolutely. I've seen that in all the studios we've been in for years, and that's an awesome magazine. Mix Mag is a kind of like a DJ sort of scene now, mixmag.com, and it's a huge thing. And then I was lucky to be invited to it when I was in LA. I just got to go to their offices, and they have like these afternoon sort of like jams where they have DJs come and perform for everyone. It's pretty amazing. And you just have to know where to go to go check it out. So mixmag.net, I think, is them. But yeah, speaking of that stuff, I was actually thinking about an interesting topic to talk about. Did you have an agenda or an order you wanted to go?
No, whatever you want to talk about, it's fine.
Well, I took some notes on this because I actually went to a lot of webinars recently and just talking about what Facebook's doing with the latest changes. So it's kind of interesting how it's affecting me. As I said, I went to TwitchCon last year and I've been streaming. I released a record July 31st, and I've been streaming since April because I came home and quarantined and I had nothing to do but just practice the record. So I was just streaming all the songs, kind of like live rehearsals. Like when I was in a band called Thermocline, we would rehearse Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 3 hours. You do the set 3 times. So it's like 9 times through the set a week. When you're on your own, no band members except for you can just every night from 6 till 8 or whatever, you just play your set a couple times. And if people want to join you on Twitch, you can have conversations with your fans. It's kind of a neat thing to do as you're emerging. It'd be really great down the road to be able to do that with fans more and more.
I saw you on Facebook during the initial lockdown, probably March and April and May. I think I remember that was you were on your some kind of a hoverboard of some sort. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. So to make it like, how would you say it? I mean, look at bands like Dream Theater. They come out on stage, or Rush, and they're like kicking soccer balls around while they're playing the hardest songs ever. So I was like, I have this one song called "Vibe and Me Uphill Battle Part 2, which has been getting 3,000 spins a week on Pandora in the US, but it's not even, Pandora is not in Canada. So because it got on the playlists, it got the spins. And my other singles that are in Canada, it's kind of weird how certain songs take off because of the playlists. But I can play that on the hoverboard, and that's actually, we're making a video for that song soon. That'll be the next video, just because it's getting some traction. And by practicing while riding the hoverboard, when you get off the hoverboard, you can play like amazing. It's such a cool way to like take your mind, your left brain and right brain kind of away from each other. I've also learned when practicing guitar, if you practice like, but then like take your left hand out of the picture and just practice exactly what you're doing with your right hand, it is really hard to do because it's hard to know where your strings are unless you're on that string. But if you separate those movements and then practice just the left hand, that's like a brain technique that I've been sort of learning, that I don't know anyone who does that other than the 2 people I've seen online that were trying to explain that. Very interesting stuff, and it makes you more accurate.
It's kind of like runners, running with weights, kind of thing.
Well,
and I've definitely noticed it.
Taking like the 2 fingers that interact and separating the movements and no longer having them connected. The hardest part is to sync them up, but then to do them on their own, it's pretty incredible. It's like really breaking it down. Like as a snowboard instructor, I would take the movements from where you turn with your arms. And as you get better, you move it down your body, and now you turn with your knees. So as you become more of an expert, you push it lower down, more of a subtle movement to do things. And with guitar playing, I actually, even though I'm in a cast right now, I use my fingers more than I use my wrist. So I'll be really subtly picking the strings like that, and I'll just use my arm. I'll be fine in 2-3 weeks. This isn't as bad as it looks, but yeah.
It might end up being a blessing and getting better because of it, maybe.
Well, it's more of a blessing that I was wearing a wrist guard that's more like a CVS or Shoppers Drug Mart kind of wrist guard on this hand, and I was wearing a regular standard one on this hand. And I was just at a new skate park, and I was just hadn't done anything in 2 weeks. Quarantine ended. It was Labor Day, and I did a spine transfer, and I was actually preparing for a harder trick, and I was just trying the easy one first. And when I went over, I wasn't fully over this thing, and I just went down. But since it was kind of like a steep thing to a short thing, there wasn't a lot of room to fall, and I just kind of went straight down to my wrist. And I was like, oh my God, I knew I broke it right away, because I've learned if I feel like I'm going to throw up when I fall, something's broken. Good to know.
Yeah. I've done quite a few dangerous things in my own life, but I've never broken anything. The only thing I ever did one time as a kid, I dislocated my thumb watching TV. So the stupidest things I've done, that's the one time I broke my, or did something like that.
I heard about someone who broke their neck playing golf.
Oh, gosh.
They hit like a rock and it tricks their neck or something.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Or they hit it wrong.
So what you were talking about reminded me of golf, actually. When you're trying to have a good golf swing, there's like,
this will keep it the same every time.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things you've got to remember doing a golf swing. So you have to work on certain of them to get them to where you don't have to think about them, because they were telling me you can only really keep in your mind 3 of them at one time.
And there's 18 things you can do wrong or something.
Yeah. So it's you try to, whenever you're doing something complicated that requires, several different techniques, or more than 3, you need to kind of get those, what they call muscle memory, which is.
I'm just going to say the word muscle memory. You know what? My guitar playing, I'm older than I look. I've been playing guitar for a really, really long time. And for this record, what I've been doing is just like, I just play the songs over and over exactly the same way I wanted them before I recorded them. And now, I can play them. Like, I'm never going to have a problem playing my own music. But I've watched other guitar players who I'm like, how the hell are they going to do that live? And you see them live and they're doing the hardest thing ever while looking at the guitar tech or looking at the fans, because they've done it so many times. And it's key to just, it's repetition. Like, I listen to my music when I'm in the studio, in the car, on the way home or after. And like, it's not an ego thing. It's a make sure you did it right thing. And I learned this from producer Steve Thompson. He's a friend of mine from Boston. He does a lot of really big bands. I noticed when I was working with him on something, he just listened to the song over and over and over in headphones. And I thought, why is he doing that? And I realized we're in the hotel, we have another session the next day, and he's just listening to the same song we've been working on. Because when you're in the studio, you don't play other songs. You play only the song you're working on. Like, you don't noodle licks from Led Zeppelin or whoever. You play the song. And that's why when you're doing sound check or something for a specific recording session, you only want to play the song you're doing, other than you can warm up. And, I've learned so much about the studio process now that I think I'm ready to take on the world. But
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was a drummer back in the 90s or 80s and 90s, and I did some studio work, and it really, doing it in the studio sure is amazing. I mean, I remember after, I was with the drums, they put you in a little room and have microphones everywhere, and had me on 10 different tracks, I think, for my drums. And then we got out of there, I listened to it and I was like, that's me. It's so amazing how it sounds on 10 tracks.
Oh, because you can't. So as a guitar player, I can sit in the studio and I can hear it like in real time. Because I just run the cable into the studio now and record.
I can hear myself, of course.
But you're not hearing. Sorry, I just cut you off. You're not hearing the processed mixed drums with all the EQs on them, because you're in the room hitting away. As a guitar player, I have the luxury of, I play it and it's coming out the way we want it.
Yeah,
pretty neat.
I was focusing on the singing and the playing, because I was playing with a gospel group, and they weren't real prepared for this. They just hired me off the paper or something like that. And so they were just impromptu, going in there and doing what they do in church or whatever. And they had these 10-minute songs. I remember talking to the mix guy, and he was like, man, it took me forever to cut that thing down.
So on that topic of the Facebook Live changes that are going on, so I spent, like you saw me performing in April and May and June.
Those changes.
What's going on with that? It's funny, because if you're a DJ, you might spend most of your time finding really good songs, and you might maybe produce 1 or 2 tracks. That's a lot of the DJs are these days. They don't have the money and know how to go to studios. They don't really understand it. Some do. They can produce amazing stuff. They're basically called producers. but DJs are playing other people's songs. So like there's
Sure.
the brilliance. Friend of mine, DJ Munz, M-U-N-Z. She's amazing. Check her out. She was invited to DJ our Burning Man camp one time, and we messed up the schedule. So she's awesome, and she ended up getting lots of great gigs. I love what she does. But my point would be that when you're doing that kind of DJing that she's doing, she knows how to pick the right track for the crowd. Like I brought her to a party one time and DJ there, and like just knew how to get everyone moving to the right. Like you don't play bangers at the beginning.
Right.
And you know how to, you know what I mean? Like you read the room and you do that. I'm not a DJ, I'm a musician. I perform with my bands or whatever. So it's a different thing, but I have to act like a DJ to figure out my set lists. My point is that as a DJ, you're generally playing other people's music. Mixcloud.com is set up with licensing agreements that they've spent for the past couple of years. They allow you to do sets of like only 3 artists at a time, and then has to be another artist, and has to be another artist. So when I go live on Facebook, I'm actually using OBS, Streamlabs, and other things like Twitch are also being streamed too. So I have like a Discord server I'm setting up right now with all of this so that I can have the people who subscribe to me are the ones I'm chatting with. And if you want to chat, you have to subscribe. And then, you know, it ties into your Patreon, and there's all these things going on. But then the real issue here with Mixcloud is that I was playing, when I got to my 3rd song in my set, Mixcloud would not let me upload it and would cut it off because you can't have more than 3 songs from one artist. So it's the exact opposite problem that all the DJs have, because they're all going to Mixcloud because they need to be able to play other people's music. So on Facebook, I'm not going to get cut off when I play my own songs, because the only problem I had is because my distributor needed to be authorized. It's kind of a confusing thing. Like you go live, but the stream hasn't been authorized yet. So they'll mute you unless you have an authorization in place. And it's just, it takes some time to make the pages connect to the streams. And then you finally get that figured out. It becomes possible to continue it on. And I can stream now on Facebook. I don't believe this is going to affect me as long as I don't play covers.
Right. So, so what you're talking about is recently Facebook announced that they're going to start cutting, not allowing people to have other people's music, right? Is that correct?
Well, they've already been doing it, but now they've changed the language so that they can delete your page. That's basically all they've done. They've left everything the exact same way, but now they have the rights to take your page completely out of the loop. And that's the problem. So they're like, we're going to delete you if you keep doing this. Because before they were like slap on the wrist, slap on the wrist. So now that's what's really changed. I read the wording on this because I'm really concerned. I don't want to lose my page. I don't want to lose my online presences because of some new rule. But it says you can't create a music listening experience.
Right.
So it's going to suck for people like the guys over at Space Yacht do this cool thing called, I think it's Tune Vault. I forget the name of it. I should remember it. But Tune Reactor, I think is what it is. They go in and they listen to people's new uploaded songs, and they're giving them feedback and they're giving them promotion. And it's like, who's the latest in our industry that's killing it? Well, Facebook's going to screw that up for them because they're not going to allow them to play other people's songs anymore. They have to only, like, you can only stream your music. So unless you're the label playing the songs that the artist does, or if you're Metallica, you can't cover Megadeth songs.
So are they, what if you're Metallica and they cut you off for playing Metallica? I mean,
no, that's the problem I had. If you're on if you're on Mixcloud, you can only do 3 of your own songs, then you have to stop.
Right. So what is Mixcloud?
Mixcloud is the one streaming service that just went live this spring. Like I started making my live streams go on Twitch, but I would also send the RTMP links to Facebook Live and to YouTube. So when you saw me live, I was going live on Twitch, Facebook page, and YouTube, and now Mixcloud as well. And also Instagram. But to go to Instagram, you have to use another application called Yellow. I forget the name of it now. It's something Yellow. And then you have to like go on to Instagram. You have to go live. Then you have to go copy your RTMP link into the software. It's just such a pain in the butt that I don't go live on Instagram with any other services. I only go live on it alone. And this is all the technical crap that I feel so sorry for people who aren't, like I have a computer science degree and I'm still like just fighting my way through it, and it's working. The hardest thing for a musician is to get on editorial playlists. And as I was saying earlier, like that was one of the big things that I'm working on. So I've been going to these amazing webinars that you find online right now because it's free because of COVID. And I'm meeting people from Pandora. I went to their AMP, Artist Music Profile webinar thingy. And through that, I was able to get email addresses of the people who actually run the playlist, send them my music, and I got added to 2 lists, and I'm getting 8,000 plays now on that song, and had 1 the week before. So
yeah, a lot of people don't realize Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, to get where you want to go, you can't just sit by. You have to work at it. It sounds like you've actually put the work in and networked and did the research. And I do the same thing. If I want to do something, I research the heck out of it and
I
go all
have a
over it.
publicist in Canada, and he's like one of the best guys in the country on it, you know. And I just researched him and found him, but I haven't been plugged into Canada lately. And then I started asking him questions, and I'm learning that I got the right guy. So I'm pretty happy with that. So a lot of new things coming down the pipe. I'm going to perform on, I believe, Saturday, October 17th. I may or may not be wearing this, but I don't care. I'm going to rock it. And I'm going to be helping partner with a new platform that's doing live streaming. They're called, I should know their name. Let me look it up because I don't remember exactly how to spell it.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research into that lately too, because of my podcast or vlog or whatever you want to call this, and I've been watching a lot of tech YouTubers like Gamers Nexus and Linus Tech Tips. And Linus Tech Tips is like the biggest one out there, I think.
What have you been learning?
Oh gosh, everything. Well, right now the whole big story is about the NVIDIA 3080 video card. So I've been following that, and
I noticed you were super excited about it. What's the, like, for people who aren't as into the hardware but understand like the reasoning behind it, what's the most exciting thing for you?
Well, the newest video card. Well, the funny thing is they made an announcement back in September that it was going to be twice as good as the previous generation, but they didn't mention that they meant only one small aspect of it. So it really was only maybe 40 to 60% better, but still, I mean, it's still a great card. So when you play a video game, there's a thing called frames per second. And, most TV, like if you're watching just normal TV, that's 30 frames per second.
Right. And the problem is there's 24 and 30 for cameras and things, and it's confusing because you'll see the lines. Okay.
And then streamers on Twitch, they do 60 frames per second. So they set their webcam to 60 frames per second, so it matches what they're broadcasting. 60 frames per second is what you're going to see, the best you're going to see, like on YouTube or something. But when you're on your computer monitor, you want as high as possible. You want up to 120 frames per second. Sometimes you can get 300 frames per second. So if you're doing competitive gaming, the faster that is, the quicker you can shoot somebody or whatever. So
understood.
They've shown some pretty amazing things where you see somebody going through like a little thing, going past a little area, and you could shoot them if your frames per second are faster. You couldn't. It's literally impossible if you don't have fast enough. So that's what a lot of people are trying to do. And then the biggest thing is called ray tracing, which is
yes, I understand this.
It's the new technology that came out. It was kind of almost vaporware 2 years ago when it came out, because they released it and like, hey, there's this new ray tracing, but hey, you can't use it because no game has it.
Now, would I be right to say that it's a similar effect to like when you have like a rendered object and you want to make sure that all the backgrounds are reflecting off it, like a car goes by a scene and you want all the lights to reflect off it as though the background is proper? Is that what that is?
No, actually what it's doing is it's real time kind of generating the stuff in real time, as opposed to rasterization. So rasterization, I guess, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago was the new thing. And then that's what everything is now, is rasterization. And when rasterization came out, no games supported it. But now ray tracing is coming out, hardly any. Even after 2 years, there's still only maybe 8 games that really support it well.
So is Unreal Engine the way this works? Is it from Unreal or is it something else?
No, it's NVIDIA.
NVIDIA. Okay, I don't know
NVIDIA
this
makes
stuff
the
at all.
card. NVIDIA makes the actual hardware, and so they give the tools so that Unengine or whoever can write a program and use their technology. And it takes a while for the game makers to come up with something that will actually work with it. So like right now, Control is a game that came out recently on PC, or at least on Steam. I think it's been around for a little while, but it uses everything the card has. So if you really want to show off a brand new card, Control is the game. You play a lady who's going around shooting things, and she has the ability to telekinesis, throw things, and
cool.
It's almost like a zombie thing where something is taken over.
So
and
I love gaming, but I'd rather play Super Mario 2 from beginning to end and restart every time I die before beating it over playing a third-person shooter. So I'm like more into that sort of. I'm really good at those games, but the new ones, like I like Zelda. I beat A Link to the Past without dying. I play Final Fantasy on my guitar, and I can kill the war mech on stage. Maybe it's one of my plans. But For this gaming stuff and what you're talking about, I'm actually really interested in. So it is, am I right to say Unreal Engine can connect to the hardware APIs of these cards?
Yes, it's just the underlying technology. Unengine is not using yet, as far as I know.
No,
I'm not completely on top of it.
So the reason I'm asking is I'm just finished the audio section of my performances and all the performing, all that stuff. Now we're getting into connecting Ableton to something called Resolume for all our visuals. But you can also, I have a friend who's insane at this stuff, Laura Escade. She's amazing, one of the Ableton trainers I've met in my career. And she has a fantastic company that does transmute for artists. If you ever want to take a course and learn how to perform, this is fantastic, fantastic people. They use Unreal Engine to render their visuals. And I want to get into some of that.
Yeah, it probably won't use that technology, but it's not that, I mean, hardly
Well, maybe that's
anybody's
what I would
using
want to
it.
do. I'm like,
Yeah,
wait a minute, no one's doing that. So let's
yeah,
use Unreal with ray tracing and do something no one's ever done.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they're so right now, anybody who comes out with anything, and you can actually work with NVIDIA and stuff because they want more stuff on it, you know. So a lot of people, you know,
Taking
are
notes
trying
on
to,
this. Talk to
are,
NVIDIA.
but a lot of people are buying these cards now. So because the last generation was so bad, as in they released cards that had a wonderful technology, but nobody was using it, so no one bought them. I think maybe 2 or 4% of users on Steam use the 2000 cards, which is the last generation. People are on cards from 4 or 5 years ago, and they work great still. So I mean, the average person on Steam, like over 50% of them use cars from several years ago, like 4 years ago. They're using 1080 Ti's and 1660s and 1650s. They're using older cards, but this is supposed to be, or no, it is such a grand step forward finally that most people are going to buy them. And right now, video cards are being bought. Even before this happened, people were buying up video cards because of the pandemic. People were just buying tons and tons of cards um, because they were at home and they wanted to do something. So they're buying tons of video cards. And then when this came out, everybody who's been holding off, everybody wanted cards. So the amount of people buying cards right now is unprecedented, and they just can't keep up with it. So you can't get one. You probably won't be able to get one until October at this point.
So I don't have any PC hardware anymore. I have like one like tower that someone left that I was using just to open anything I ever needed. But I mean, I'm not using PC at all. Just Mac straight and Ableton Live, and I'm set. And when I go on to play video games, I use a Switch or an old Nintendo. I have two of those Nintendo Minis. I have let me just show you. Actually, I have it right here. This one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those are cool.
I got this guy here. I love this thing. I leave it as default. It's the Super Nintendo Mini.
Yeah, those are.
And then I have this one, which I really, really love the fact that. So for this guy here, I've actually reflashed the kernel on it, and I've got 900 games on it, including arcade games. So I have,
Wow.
luckily I have the right controllers for all of them. It's kind of neat. I haven't really been playing games, but that's so I can eventually, I want to, when I go online with my Twitch channel a little bit more frequently in the fall, I want to start playing some of those games with my friends online. And with the Switch, you can actually play with them with your friends on the internet. It's kind of nice.
Right. So if you ever, it's called RTX, ray tracing. They call it RTX. And so if you ever see RTX, that means it's using the newer cards that have the ray tracing. So that's what RT means for ray tracing.
I'm gonna
And
research that. That sounds really, really great because I've
and
never seen
so
guys with PlayStations that were connected together so they could do ray tracing. PlayStation 3s.
wow.
Sorry to interrupt you.
So if you wanted to actually use that on your Mac, they actually do make external bays for video cards. You can actually get a PCI external bay that goes into your Mac, and you can get
Interesting.
a high end video card. Some people do that for when they're doing work and stuff, like if they're trying to like use V-Ray or some type of program or Blender, things like that require a video card. They actually will go and do that, and you can actually play games with it as well. And so it attaches to your port on your MacBook, and then you just have this based like an external hard drive, but it's an external video card.
Well, and I have an external audio card, an Apollo.
Oh yeah,
Universal
I
Audio.
figured you did.
Yeah. And I can use this laptop or another one, and I just connect it all to the system or unconnect it all. And then like right now I have nothing plugged into it other than the power and the headphone. But
What do you use for video capture? Or do
I'm
you?
not capturing any video. I just hire a video guy. I mean, I have iPhone XR. I have a camera that's what's it called? It's a streaming Logitech, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But for streaming, what I'm actually using is an iRig Duo from IK Multimedia,
Right.
and that's my output from my computer, which then is mixed with the audio from the Universal Audio hardware, which has my guitar and vocals going through that are processed on board on the hardware, but my
Right.
vocals don't go through the computer, neither do my guitars. My guitar goes through an 11 rack piece of hardware from Avid. It's like a Pod Pro. So it's just like a direct sort of guitar unit, like a Kemper,
Right.
which I record with Kemper, but I perform live with the 11 rack and just dial it in until it sounds the same.
So like
And
right now, I'm recording with a Nikon DSLR. Well, actually a mirrorless, not DSLR, but it's a my Nikon mirrorless camera. And so it has an HDMI output that goes into what's called an Elgato card. It actually goes into the machine. So I can actually use
is it
it
a
as,
Elgato HD 60S?
it's the 4K one, 4K 60.
That's dope. I have two of the 60 HD 60Ss.
Right.
I left one in Vegas, so I bought a new one this year so I could stream, and now I have two of them.
And so the viewers right now are seeing a very clear picture of me. The picture you see of me right now, it looks kind of red. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but the reason that is because I actually, my camera is going into my Elgato on the computer behind me and is being recorded. And then it has a pass through, and the pass through is coming into my laptop, which is in front of me. And then I have another, I found one of those $20 capture
Splitters?
cards. No, it's
Oh,
the
okay.
USB. I actually have a splitter and I can't find it. But once I find it, I'll start using that. It'll look better. But my this little tiny USB thing.
Rocket Fish splitter.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
So
one right here.
this was like $20, and but it's really I haven't actually tried it to use it the normal way. So right now I have a capture card going into a capture card. So I think that's what's causing it to look bad to you. But my recording will actually look really good because it's actually going into it looks a lot better.
And
through that.
I would take the HDMI pass through usually, and that would be my console game that's going into the capture card and then into the TV from the
Yeah,
pass.
that's what I was asking you a while ago. I was wondering if you were streaming those consoles because you would have to have a capture card for that.
Yeah. So the cool thing is if you use the capture card's output to go to it keeps the game timing in real time while you're playing it, but then you have to wear headphones because it screws up the stream delay.
Oh yeah.
That's been the problem. I love in-ear monitors. I have an in-ear monitor endorsement with 64 audio. Unfortunately, I can't afford to buy the set yet. I'm just saving up to get them. They're pretty expensive, but they're hooking me up, but there's still a lot to get.
I just got this Sony one. Have you seen these?
What is it?
They're Sony. I can't remember. It's WP something or other. But
Okay.
They have the most amazing bass on them. I mean, they sound amazing. These things.
It's funny.
In my ear.
Everything happens to be nearby. I have these. These are the Power Beats 3 by Beats, which I got them real cheap from someone for like $80 once off somewhere. I just wanted them. They're nice because they're connected, but they don't have any other cables. So I can use them as an in-ear monitor. But I like to have mine are molded, the ones I usually get, because I'm a singer and I need to have the ability to ride the hoverboard.
Yeah, have you noticed these things keep falling out? But yeah, they're but if I shove them in real good, they don't fall out. But then you feel like you have your fingers in your ears. But but and also too, my voice sounds horrible to myself because I can only hear it inside my head almost.
Oh, so I've gotten over that because I've been a lead singer for long enough that whatever at this point. And that's a huge thing to get over though.
Yeah, I love these case though. It you store it in here, and you actually charge the case, and
that's awesome.
And you just put them in there, and they're almost always at 100%. They never seem to go down. And I just stick them in there, and I hardly ever have to even charge. This thing holds a lot of charge. It seems like it doesn't even weigh very much. But when I listen to music, it is really amazing sound. I mean, for what they are. I mean, I don't know if you can see I have a DT70s back there, my Barry Dynamics. You see those? I don't know if you can see that or not, but those are professional headphones. Those are.
I have the Audiotronic M58s. You know those?
Yeah, no, not really.
Okay, so they're really cool, but the only reason I have them is I went to the NAMM show a couple years back, I think 2015 or 16 or whatever, and they had this giant headphones that you could put on, and people took selfies with them and everything, and I won the free pair, and they're like $300, and they're like the Audiotronic top M58 big top of the line headphones from that year, and it's such a difference to have the right headphones. This is the case. Audio Technica. This is the case for them.
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah.
The M. Yeah. So
yeah, I originally got some, studio beats years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and they're okay. But once I got these Bear Dynamics 770 DT 770s Pros, it's shocking how good they are. I went to a program that's supposed to show off your headphones and did a bunch of tests and stuff, and so it sounded all cool. Then they were showing kind of the 3D part of it, and
that stuff is crazy. The 3D spatial.
It was late at night, and then they had this knocking on the door sound, and I about jumped out of my chair because it was so real.
Was it from the song "You Have No Facebook Friends"?
No, it was literally something that was designed specifically for testing. Yeah,
because when they play that song, when the person knocks on the door and she goes, "You blocked me on Facebook. Now you're going to die." That knocking really sounds really spatial. That's funny.
But when you have headphones that because basically beats are fake bass. When you listen to these things, they have real bass, and it's shocking how good it is.
So check out 64audio.com. They have 12 drivers in them.
Wow.
And they're like expensive. Like you buy them, you retail, they're like $2,000, but
these are mid-level.
Right. So, but I just figured you'd be interested in something with 12 drivers. If you like what you have, like you should go to check out like a demo sometime in a music store of the 12 driver ones. Because I don't know how many.
Get that kind of money, I'll probably get that kind of stuff, but not now.
How many drivers are in those? 3?
Oh, I have no idea.
It probably says, but it's always good to know how many drivers there are.
Yeah, and they're actually a 250 ohm, and I have a tube amp. I don't know if you can see that or not. I have a tube amp that I use.
I do see that. Those are AX12s. Is that an AX12 tube?
I can't remember. It's got some long number or something. I think it starts with an A, but I took the default ones out of it and got somebody recommend a different kind, so I put a different one in there. But you can do tube rolling and stuff in it. It's
as a guitarist, we have tubes in our lives. We used to you get groove tubes apparently, or you get tubes that have been burned for 50 hours longer. Like you don't want a brand new one and stuff like that. Sure. But interesting technology. It sounds so great.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I wanted to tell you. So I found this. This is just a card reader for my memory card. So you plug this into your computer, then you drag your card in and you put it into the slot here. It's just a card slot holder for my SP404. Wow. And this is pretty old. The new ones are MIDI controlled and all that stuff. But I like how this feels like the original whammy pedal. It doesn't have any MIDI or anything. Well, it has a MIDI in, but it doesn't have a whole lot of MIDI stuff going on. The purpose of this is if my computer crashes, I can still play I can hit one of these for the chorus or the verse or the outro or whatever song. I can have it set up as a holy crap moment, like, oh no. And I just hit it and it launches the entire song without the guitar, and I can still play along with it. It'll sound it's a backup.
What kind of guitar do you have?
I have 3 right now that I use that are John Petrucci's. They're Ernie Ball Music Man. I'm endorsed by them. I love Ernie Ball. Oh, nice. And I have a lot of stuff from them. Love these guys. So I use the JP6s. I have a silver one and a gold one. They're both tuned to E flat. When I ordered them, actually, I asked them to send me them E flat because I just always play in E flat. And I wanted to get a black matte one this year, a Majesty guitar from Ernie Ball, but they actually were kind of, because of the COVID, everything got screwed up with orders. Like they just said, just wait. They couldn't even get strings for a while. There was a bit of a backlog. It was pretty crazy, but I love those guys. They've been so supportive. Well, I couldn't order any of the custom weird strings. They were only making the regulars. Right. So I think they had the line. They probably slowed down on how many people could be around the machine. So they probably just made the regulars for the moment. I don't know.
So what you were telling me what keyboard you had? I forgot. What keyboard do you have?
Keyboard wise, for like music, I used to have a DX7 synthesizer. I sold it to someone who really, really, really wanted it because I'm using it as basically a MIDI controller. I use Serum, but most of the times it's all triggered in Ableton. So I have a couple, like an Oxygen 61 controller. I have an Ableton push controller, which I absolutely love. And I have my, I think the box is somewhere. I thought I had it. My MIDI Fighter 3D. The box is over there. You know the MIDI Fighter? It's like arcade buttons on it.
Okay.
Actually, here I'll show you the box. It's right here. So this is it's one of my favorite things. The MIDI Fighter 3D. It doesn't really show a picture of it on the box, except for if you look closely, it's that one with all those arcade style buttons.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And when you hold it, it actually has an accelerometer in it. But I use it just to launch, like I have it sitting in front of me, in front of my Ableton push controller, and I just launch the songs I'm going to play from it. So it's my interface to my laptop when I'm on stage, because I don't want to be using the mouse or the trackpad. So I just have that, and it lights up all cool. You can program it. There's a utility for MIDI Fighter that lets you program the buttons the colors you want. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming. We're kind of getting over time here. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I've been looking forward to this. I know we put it off a couple times, and because I have my background is similar to yours in some ways, and I just really I haven't got to talk music with anybody really in a long time, so that was fun. And so you're working at Hennessy Digital right now, is that correct?
Yeah, they're great, and it's been challenging because living in Los Angeles and then leaving, and they're based there, but a lot of the people are global. It's been one heck of a ride, and the company's doing really great. Everyone's working like it's growing, and every day I learn.
I had Nava on last week, and she was really great. So
she's brilliant. I haven't had a chance to work with her as much because she's on the paid side. I'm on the organic side, but yeah, she brings a lot to the table because she came from a really cool company, I think WordStream, where I got a lot to respect for those guys.
So I guess I'll be talking to more Hennessy people. So it's always nice to have one of you guys over here or people over here.
Yeah, and so, if you're in the legal space, you need any help with your SEO, Hennessy Digital is definitely the team for you. Like,
I didn't know that y'all specialized in legal. Is that y'all do other things, or is that?
I don't mean specialized. I mean killing it in that field, and we do lots of other fields too. And I'm not in sales. I'm doing more like digital PR stuff, and I don't want to say anything publicly without making sure I say the right thing. But great bunch of people, and I'm glad you had Nava on. She's wonderful. I need to talk more to her about metal and Star Wars, because I don't think she realizes how much in common we all have. And same with you. I have a lot in common with you from the technical stuff. There's so many gadgets just like around here, because I recently shipped home all my stuff from the States, and I have like literally gone through 17 boxes, and I'm still just kind of organizing it. And I have things that I just haven't had a chance to see in a long time, and then they just randomly are like right nearby like this,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Jesse on. I think he's committed to coming on at some point in the future, and so him and I can talk metal as well.
Oh, cool! That'll be fun.
Jesse, right? Jesse
McDonald. Yeah. Hopefully we all get to meet up at a PubCon someday again. I haven't been to anything in a long time, but
this podcast has kind of been my replacement for me for conferences, because usually I spend a lot of time hanging out with people at the conferences, and so I'm kind of using this to make up for that. And so thank you so much for coming on. And I'm David Ogletree, and this is Marketing Tech. Please subscribe. Talk to you later. Thank you.